Hey everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I have the sun as the obstacle. The sun is always getting in the way. Don't get a sunburn, you know? And then the Three of Pentacles, Three of Coins as the opportunity. So let's get into it. Let's get started. Um, Quite significant changes between the Marseille and the Waite card. Kind of interesting that there's two characters in the Marseille and only one character in the Waite. But yeah, the sun. This is, this is this is often seen as just a great card. People love this card. Um, it it often symbolizes a very healthy and positive paternal presence, a fatherly energy imbibing presence. Um, the obstacle that I potentially see this symbolizing, what this reminds me of, is the dangers associated with um, unlimited support, unlimited money, unlimited, unconditional love, all the things that generally when we don't have them, we think, oh, it'd be great to never have to worry about money, or it'd be great to never have to deal with a cold, I don't know, Greenlandian winter, like, wouldn't it be great if it was just sunny and warm all the time? And I think this card, this card makes me think of the potential negative aspects of that kind of unconditional surplus of something. Um, for one, in in terms of this card depicting, you know, infants, babies, the two figures in the Marseille card, even if they're adults, they're stripped down, so they're in a very infant, fragile sort of state. Having the sun shine on you ceaselessly, being supported by your parents, ceaselessly um, being given money, you know, being supported, it could certainly could certainly remove any reason to do any growing up, to becoming an adult. If everything is taken care of, why why be responsible? Why limit yourself? Why budget if you think the money is never ending, right? Why try to be independent if you believe that your parents are always going to be there to help you out and bail you out and support you? And yeah, so I think that this card symbolizes the potential negative of becoming too reliant on whatever it is that is providing this ceaseless energy. Yeah, becoming too reliant on it. Maybe the issue could be with the making the mistake that something you think is gonna last forever. I've seen the first 2/3 of the MC Hammer documentary. If there's one thing I learned about money, is that it never runs out, as a very wise principle once declared. Um, yeah, it might be making the mistake that something that you've got, some easy thing that you got coming right now, is just not going to go away. Kind of like the sun. A lot of people think the sun's just going to be there forever. It certainly will be there for a very, very long time, but nothing lasts forever, and we both know hearts can change. So yeah. So this is kind of like, don't take, maybe don't take those things for granted that seem like they're endless. And then flippity flip, the three of Three of Pentacles, Three of Coins. It's hilarious how, these are just being drawn randomly by the little program I made here. One thing that I gotta say I love about the tarot is that each card is a representation of such an archetypal experience, such an archetypal aspect of life, that it seems like any of these opportunity cards, they always have something valid, something constructive to add to the obstacle to help negate it, you know. But yeah, sometimes initially before I remind myself that even when drawn randomly, you know, there's always some meaningfulness to be found. Sometimes my initial reaction is like, wow, of course this is the card to remind people not to get absorbed in, you know, a thing they feel like is going to last forever. Three, this is a card of change, and this is, you know, the Waite card. More often than not, they depict people, but this is a card that deals with an environment that, as of yet, does not concern the you know, the activities of of other people. Um, I think this card symbolizes to me the kind of change that it's like organic change, chemical change, and it's the kind of change that brings about some sort of favorable change in value, some the appearance of some new thing of value. Um, so certainly for one, I think this card is a good reminder that, you know, things change. This sun thing isn't going to be around forever. I mean, it will be nighttime at some point too. Um, but yeah, you know, more metaphorically, that change is happening, and that even without considering how the actions of human beings affect things, we're talking like the the world is changing. The matter, you know, the very matter beneath our feet is changing, and that with this card as an opportunity, it's like that there are opportunities in those changes and permutations. One of the things that I thought of when I was initially sort of just brainstorming on this was how um, in nature there are a lot of primates and other animals, but there are particularly some primates that have seasons where the fruit that drop from the trees can be eaten immediately for, you know, for sustenance, for calories, and probably delicious vitamins. Um, but there are primates that have figured out to leave them and let them ferment, and these fruit just become alcoholic. They don't become particularly strong, but still strong enough that once these primates eat, you know, half a dozen, they're like wasted, they're loaded, they're just. And I remember watching some of them near a resort, and they just hang out near the resort, and they're like little drunk babies. They're like drunk. They're ridiculous. They're hilarious and also kind of worrisome because sometimes they look like they're gonna fall off of things and hurt themselves. But a transformation like that, you know, the fruit is there. It's in the nature. it it grows. First of all, just the appearance of fruit is kind of related to the symbolism of this card. You know, as the things of the earth change and mature, fruit are produced. But I find the transformation of fruit into essentially an alcoholic beverage conveniently contained inside of a fruit. A particularly good example for this that these primates have figured out how to adapt to and take advantage of, because apparently they just love getting wasted. Um, so yeah, the value in that kind of, you know, that's a chemical, it's an organic and chemical transformation. You leave something there even without human interaction. Just, you know, the present bacteria, the sugars in the thing, the heat from the sun, all these different things, changing things around, making them valuable. Um, another thing that I thought of, um, not as, I think, maybe not as significant or impressive, but I remember having a pair of jeans when I was younger that was like, they were like sun bleached denim or something. And I remember thinking, like who was the first person who came across that phenomenon and thought, oh, this is actually really cool. I'm just gonna bake, you know, I'm just gonna bake my pants in the sun, and they're gonna have this cool washed out kind of look. Um, but yeah, something like that. You know, just And just leaving something out in the sun, leaving something underwater, finding something that's been in a particular place for some period of time where it's it's undergone chemical changes, some sort of changes that bring out some new aspect of it that is valuable. I kind of like to think of this card as symbolizing that. Um, yeah, in the Waite card, I think I still find a similar interpretation of it, even though it does involve people. But I kind of think of it in terms of like the the things of value instead of the nature that I kind of like to think of with these early pentacle cards. In the Waite card, we see some cathedral or chapel or some sort of, you know, to me it feels like it's an old building of cultural importance. And I think that maybe the card hints at this building also, like it being old enough and significant enough that it almost takes on that it could almost be thought of in a way similar to things in nature, like a really old architectural structure that's been around for, you know, some cathedral been around for dozens of generations. It's like that's more a part of the natural landscape than, you know, trees come and go. You know, this is like, it's like a mountain essentially. It's just sitting there unchanging. So at a certain point, certain types of buildings and creations of, you know, of people stand for so long that they take on this quality similar to things found in nature. And then whatever the inherent symbolism is, like we see the in the arch there are the three pentacles and then kind of this flower motif there. um, I kind of thought about how sometimes when really old architecture is unearthed, you know, you dig up, there's some archaeological dig and they discover some old temple, and it's still a man-made thing, but it's so old that just the uncovering of it and the attempts to interpret the culture that was present, you know, in in the people who made it or whatever, that it's like this, that there's that value of the unearthing of this old old thing that still man-made but kind of more in the realm of just things that spring forth in nature. And then in this card, you know, even something like old cultures, old traditions revealed to modern onlookers, to modern eyes, is similar to that, the reveal of the new thing of value, right? But yeah, but because it involves people, I think a card like a representation like this would belong further along in the suit. You know, like maybe something like this might make more sense to me as like a seven of pentacles. You know, both involving people and involving these higher, more abstract ideas like culture, like not just the value of a dollar, but the value of giving value to a dollar, like the meta evaluations of something. But nonetheless, some stuff to think about there. So the obstacle, just to recap, is um, don't take the you know, don't metaphorically take the sun for granted. If you've got something that is being if you're in receipt of some easy money right now or something, you know, don't fool yourself into thinking that it's going to last forever. I mean, you know, not saying that it won't, not saying that it will, but it would certainly be advantageous to counter the I guess ignorance hinted at by this symbolically. Be a little mindful of what kind of things might run out, you know, that you're not being considerate of. And then as far as the opportunity is, um, opportunities potentially lie in the discovery of things that are brought about into existence without the intervention of human beings or any human willpower, just things that take on value just as they transform over time in nature. You know, there's opportunities to kind of maybe ask yourself, where is this kind of process taking place? Oh, another good idea, I guess, or not a good idea, but another symbolic sort of example would be how like sometimes if I walk along the beach, I find these beautiful translucent colorful stones, and they look like gemstones or something, but it's just pieces of like beer bottles that have been have been washed over by the sea, over and over and over, and it polishes them into these, they're not jagged anymore. They're these nice round little stones. So much of what people find on beaches that look like these beautiful little stones is just what initially was this kind of like, you know, some bottle piece of glass. It's not even kind of dangerous. You could cut yourself on it, but you just let it float around and get washed over by the sea or the ocean or the lake or a river or whatever. And over time, it's transformed by the environment into this thing that's cool looking. I've seen people make jewelry with them. Obviously, we're not talking about a huge increase in value, but nonetheless, like in terms of how in terms of the distance between perceiving the initial kind of like, wow, this looks cool, and then realizing that you're probably just looking at what was a piece of garbage to someone initially. But yeah, so be mindful of the kind of opportunities that lie there. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.